welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today for an update on the HFRX. Here today is Ken Hines, President of HFR Index. Welcome, Ken.
Thanks, Anika.
So Ken, give us an overview of what October's been looking like so far.
Time's flying by. This is the last hedge fund performance update we're going to have before the election. So it's exciting. Everybody's positioning for the unexpected to be known relatively soon. Things were pretty, under control in the first couple weeks of October. You have mixed performance for financial markets overall. Mixed bag of hedge fund performance where things really didn't move very much. We saw a little bit of gain in some of the indices. Other ones are just a few basis points lower. But really, it was a combination of people positioning for these geopolitical and these election risks, which they're really very different things right now. We saw interest rates rising over the course of the first couple of weeks. So that certainly had some impact on the performance we saw. But overall, it was a good month, and things are looking good heading into the election.
All right, so let's look at the composite indices so far this month. What's looking up?
Yeah, you can see here that the HFRX equity hedge is the leading area of performance, up a little better than 0.5%. We also have the market directional index, which is up about almost 0.5%, 43 basis points. And the other indices pretty much close to zero in terms of event-driven relative value and the global. And then macro, which you'll recall was one of the leading areas of performance last month, is actually kind of a detractor from performance. And I think it's not always this way, but recently we've seen that moving somewhat inversely to interest rates. So last month when rates fell, you had a very strong performance in macro. In the first part of October, where you've seen rates rise, you see that decline. So that can change a lot from month to month and based on whether systematic or discretionary strategies. I know we're going to talk about those in a minute, but those can also be very different as well.
Okay, and then year to date for the composites, is it holding up the way you'd expect?
Yeah, you can see here that the leading area is equity hedge, a little better than 8%, nearly 8% for the composite of market directional strategies. Those are the ones that have some of the highest correlation to the overall industry. And you see nearly 5% gain for the HFRX Global, 4 1/3 for fixed income based strategies, and nearly 4%, 3.8 for event driven. Interestingly enough, as far as the first couple weeks of October go, one of the things that really has been a powerful trend, and it's really almost too early to be in this data, but we've seen very strong start to the earnings season. And so in addition to all the geopolitical election distraction, interest rates as well, you've seen very strong earnings from banks, with many of them pointing to strong trading revenue and deal-making revenue and M&A revenue. So that, to me, really suggests that event-driven can be a strong area into the end of the year and going into 2025.
And that's a nice segue. If we think about specific sub-strategies, what have been the strongest performers so far?
Yeah, it was interesting because when we talked about the earlier slide and we talked about how macro was actually declined for the month, one of the core areas of macro is the discretionary thematic is actually the leading sub-strategy. So that tells me that you had a really wide disparity between the fundamental macro discretionary strategies, which you can see here are up 1.2%, and trend following quantitative CTA strategies, which I don't show on here, but clearly they must be down because the composite was down so it must be offsetting that gain with a decline for those types of strategies. So you saw a pretty significant difference in those strategies in the first part of October. Also, fundamental growth up about 0.75%, 65 basis points in merger arb. And to my earlier comment, how what we've seen very recently, the last few days, strong bank earnings driven by a lot of M&A and deal-making revenue, that really portends a strong outlook for the event-driven space into the end of the year and the beginning of next year. And then rounding that out, we have market neutral and fundamental value strategies for October.
The final look would be year to date at sub-strategies. What can you tell us?
Yeah, you can still see that the fundamental equity strategies are leading the way. Again, 10.3% gain for fundamental growth. You're getting some of that recently from emerging markets as people are positioning for this lower inflation, lower interest rate environment. Fundamental value has also done well, and again, there's a fair amount of financials in that type of an area. Equity market neutral, 6.5%. That's a very strong gain for the year for a strategy that's really a categorically very low vol, low net exposure. 6.5% is a very strong gain for market neutral. And then you see macro discretionary thematic and fixed income convertible arbitrage rounding out sort of the top 5 sub-strategies thus far for the year.
Well, thank you for that mid-month check-in, Ken. Final words you'd like to say?
Yeah, just want to make sure that if you're watching this video, you know we do regular performance updates on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel, and if there are questions you'd like to see us discuss on future videos, happy to do that. And I said at the beginning, this is our last performance update before the election, so the next time we do one, we'll have a new administration, at least here in the U.S. Certainly check out the new website, www.hfr.com. We just got that up a couple of months ago, so a lot of great new features there. When you do go there, please check out the investor guidebook. You can download it. It talks about a lot of the utility function that many institutional investors have with regard to all the families of investable HFR indices. And certainly if you have a question, you can reach out to myself, Ken Hines, or to indices@hfr.com to discuss anything we talked about on this call, anything you see in the investor guidebook or on the website.
Thanks so much, Ken.
Great, thank you.